Welcome, dearly beloved in the Lord. Let me share something about relationship. I've been talking about relationship, and I found out that relationship is something that has been a very, very precious thing. And so today I am going to share with you on the disciples. The Lord Jesus had 12 disciples, but out of 12 disciples, I'm going to categorizing, they had 7 types of relationship. So the title I would like to give is 7 relationships in disciples. Ready? Here we go. First of all, honest relationship. That means sincere relationship. I'm going to present the character, the dear disciple, Peter. Peter. One day, it so happened when they were having meals together, John's Gospel, chapter 21 and verse 17, Jesus waited till they finished the meal, and then Jesus placed a question not to the entire disciples, who were 11 of them, but to Peter, asking, "Do you love me?" Peter was deeply hurt when Jesus asked the same question for the third time. And when Jesus asked the third time, "Do you love me?" Peter said, "Lord, you know all things," he replied. "You know I love you." By the way, the Greek word that is used in the text that we saw in John's Gospel, chapter 21, 15 to 17, the word, it's something like this. Jesus asked, "Do you love me with a divine love, Peter?" And Peter says, "Yes, Lord, I have an affection towards you in a human way." Second time, Jesus asked Peter, "Do you love me with a divine love?" And Peter says, "Yes, Lord, I love you with a human affection." Third time, Jesus asks the question, "Do you have, Peter, only human affection?" And Peter gets sad. He was deeply hurt. And then he says, "You know all things. You know about me, what kind of love I have." In that, he expressed his sincerity or honesty. So I call this relationship as an honest relationship. 7 types of relationships that the disciples had with Jesus, and the first one is honest relationship, and the second thing I call it as communicative relationship. Communication. In any good relationship, there should be a communication. Whenever there is a breakdown of communication, relationship is affected. I still remember once I was walking with my spiritual father, Brother Zach Poonen, from the place where we were staying, and we were walking all the way up to the meeting place. As we were walking, I still remember we crossed through a compound, a huge compound, and then we walked through, and then there was a park that was there, and we passed through that, and then we came to the, what you call the wall was broken down, the compound wall was broken, and then we passed through, and then I felt like asking a question to my spiritual father. I said, "Brother Zach, what do you think about 2 people who are quiet and not talking for a long time?" I actually meant our own relationship, because we were walking, it's maybe about 10 minutes or so. We were walking, no talking. And so I asked, what do you think when there is no communication or no talking between two people, when I refer to ourselves, immediately answered that talks about not good relationship. Challa. Wow. What a lesson. What a lesson. It's not only a temporary, communication gap, but sometimes, whole week or whole month, when there is no good communication or poor communication or no communication, that talks about not so good relationship. Not good relationship. I must give a small testimony here. I almost remember my spiritual father every day. And I talk to God every day. And this morning, I think very happily I talked with God. And and then I also want to talk to my children and my grandchildren every day, every day, every day. So in a good relationship, there is a good communication. That's what I'm trying to say. Andrew, Simon Peter's brother, was one of the two who heard John's testimony and followed Jesus. The first thing Andrew did was to find his brother and tell him. Communication. Tell him. What did he tell? Andrew said, "We have found the Messiah." John's Gospel, chapter 1 and verse 40 and 41. This man, Andrew, when when he met Jesus, Jesus asked him, he asked him, "Rabbi, where do you stay?" And Jesus said, "Come and see." And so that day he went and stayed with Jesus along with another disciple. Imagine Jesus making some coffee or tea or whatever the Jewish culture those days, and taking hospitality. I don't think Jesus sent them empty or hungry. Gave some kind of hospitality and made him to feel at home. So Andrew spent time with Jesus. Communicative relationship. So I wish myself, I'm talking about myself, to be a good communicator. This morning, just half an hour ago, we met a great man of God. Non-stop he's talking. He's not almost my family, they were kind of signaling me, why not we go away? But I signaled my friends who came and said, take a picture, record the message, record whatever he's speaking, communication. I love communication. I have recorded hundreds of communication, hundreds of audio messages, and I once in a while put it, play it and remember. Even my mother, who passed away about some 40, 50 years ago, I recorded her song. I recorded her messages. My grandmother, I asked my grandmother to speak and recorded grandmother, reading Psalm 48. And so communication is a key to any good, healthy relationship. Thirdly, by the way, we are studying something about 7 relationships in disciples. 7 revelations or relationships in disciples. It's a revelation, of course. The third one, precious. I love it. First one, honest relationship, example Peter. Communicative relationship, example Andrew. And the third one, covenant relationship. Covenant relationship. And that is James. Covenant for me simply means I give my life to you. That's all. Covenant means there is no covenant without shedding of blood, whether in the Old Testament or in the New Testament. Every covenant had, in fact, the covenant, the word covenant in Hebrew itself means cutting, sacrifice, dying, laying down life. So, James, did he lay down his life? Yes. He was the first person to lay down his life for Jesus. Okay, let me read a verse from Acts chapter 12 and verse 1 and 2. About the same time, King Herod began to persecute some believers in the church, and he had the apostle James, John's brother, killed with a sword. I can imagine a, a, a conference in heaven. Who should be the first disciple who should die for Jesus? Okay, um, then it came to James. Reason? You know, it doesn't say that James wanted to die for Jesus, but he had a desire. How do I know? Because we have a God who fulfills the desire. Fulfills the desire. He had a desire, let me die for my master. Let me give my life. So his desire was fulfilled and he was martyred. Acts chapter 12, 1 and 2. Covenant relationship. Fourthly, loving relationship. Yes, we saw honest relationship. We also saw the communicative relationship, that is communication in relationship, and covenant relationship, and loving relationship. Wow. I'm reading two passages from John's Gospel, chapter 13, and John's Gospel, chapter 19. One of his disciples whom Jesus loved, the Greek is agapeo, was leaning against Jesus' chest. He then simply leaned back on Jesus' chest and said to him, Lord, who is that? And of course, Jesus loved this person. Every disciple ran away. You know, when Jesus was arrested, disciples ran away. But Jesus saw his mother from the cross, standing there beside the disciple whom Jesus loved, and said to her, Dear woman, here is your son. Then he said to the disciple, Behold your mother. And from that hour, the disciple took her to his own home. So here is a relationship which is a loving relationship. Beloved mother, whom should I entrust? To the beloved disciple. Wow, what a relationship. Love, when love is absent, relationship is gone. It's ritual. So that's why Jesus said, when you love one another, the whole world will know that you are my disciples. Wow. Very important. Very, very important. Fifthly, focused relationship. Focused relationship. I would like to take an example of Matthew. Matthew, he is one of the disciples, and he kept writing now and then. In that movie, The Chosen, keeps writing now and then, writing. Matthew keeps on writing. So he wrote back. One of the things that Matthew writes in chapter 1 of Matthew's Gospel is, he's so focused. He's focusing Jesus, and he's focusing. First of all, he also focused Jesus in his what you call relationship, but in his writing also we see that he was focusing. For example, Matthew chapter 2, of course, chapter 1, it's genealogy, focusing. Who is Jesus? King. Lot of kings, King David, King Solomon, and many other kings. And then Jesus was born as a king, and chapter 2 and verse 2 and verse 11 of Matthew's Gospel, the three people who traveled maybe hundreds and hundreds of kilometers maybe thousand also, thousands of kilometers. They traveled and came, three wise men we call, and they asked a question, where is the newborn king of the Jews? We saw his star as it rose, and we have come to worship him. Worship, can I give a simple definition of worship? Worship is focusing God. Worship is focusing God. You know, this song in heaven is called Thou Art Worthy. There are so many things. For example, a big piece of gold, we are excited. We are attracted. I mean, we are a little curious. But the whole road itself is uh, in heaven is gold. But their focus is not on gold. There are so many angels. Their focus is not on angels. The godliest people on the face of the earth are there, but their focus is not on the godly people, but their focus is on Jesus, the Lamb of God. Here also these people travel all the way on the camels and came, what for? Worship. And verse 11, it says that they saw Mary, his mother, and they fell down and worshipped their child, Jesus. Focused. So Matthew is focused. He's writing also something which is focused. Sixthly, general relationship. General relationship. Philip, Bartholomew, Thomas, James, Thaddeus, Simon, all these people, they were also chosen by Jesus. The six disciples and six disciples who are general, the six disciples who are little special, they had some specific thing. So I categorized 12 disciples into two. One is general disciples, six of them. The other one who were active. Jesus went up on the mountainside and called to him those he wanted, and they came to him. He appointed the 12. They might be with him. He might send them and to preach and to have authority over the demons. Mark chapter 3 verses 13 to 15. They had a wonderful ministry, but they did not do something very exceptional. In a school or a college, same teacher, same textbook, same classroom, same time of teaching, same examination, same marks, but some get sent person. Others get just a pass mark. Disciples were chosen, six of them were just a general kind of. Thank God for Thomas who came to India. Well, finally, let me close with one more kind of relationship, insincere relationship. Judas Iscariot, he was also chosen. He was also a believer. He also partook in communion. He also was helping Jesus. He was also part of the team, but he was not sincere. 3.5 years he heard the gospel. We only read the gospel. We read Jesus raised Lazarus, but some of these disciples, they saw Lazarus being raised. In spite of that, this man was not honest. Is it possible to be with Jesus and not honest, not sincere? Yes. And therefore, when Jesus gave the bread, you know what happened? Satan entered into Judas. John's Gospel, chapter 13, verses 26 and 27. Insincere people, very, very dangerous. This is something which my spiritual father was trying to drill in me. Sincerity, sincere. Chella, I don't care even if there is a big loss. Once, he said that to me. Even if the whole of CFC is burnt, I don't care. Even if the whole thing gets destroyed, it's all right. But I don't want insincere people. How many times he has to tell me? Because I was not always sincere. I tend to be acting or trying to be different. But thank God. It helped me, and I want to be sincere, at least with God, and at least those who are close to me spiritually. Well, these are some 7 types of relationship, and let's examine ourselves. God bless you. Shalom.